Good morning, folks, and welcome back to the channel. This video is going to look a little bit weird, like you're looking at a screen inside a screen inside a screen, because you are looking at a screen inside a screen inside a screen. But it's early here in the morning, and I've had a right giggle just getting these to a point where I wanted to sort of emphasize realistically what are the moral points realistically of what these two guys were getting at. But this... if you haven't watched these clips in my previous video, it's just funny to watch Gary Gensler's reaction because we're so used to him shouting and being this full frontal guy. And the honest truth is, they mentioned this, is that I think it's been nearly a year it's taken to actually get him in there to testify. So there's lots of if, buts and coconuts, but it is just hilarious to hear the one guy where he's like yes or no answers, and he's like, the answer is no, sir. Proper got me going. So let's play a little bit of this clip and then we'll have a little chit chat about it.
I wish I had time to go into the ESG rule and everything else, but Chairman Gensler, your record of failures to protect investors and abuses of power make it clear that we need to restructure the Securities and Exchange Commission. The failures are many, but let me cite some of the abuses. You average more than 2 rules proposals a month. You provide inappropriately short comment periods. You have unworkable and unlawful ESG disclosure mandates on the market. You have essentially a Hotel California rule for crypto where you can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. You have endless discovery with no resolution and no clarity for the captives in the market. You have unworkable proposals for overhauling equity market structure, a de facto ban on crypto through proposed custody rule. You have high staff turnover, unhappy people leaving your office, in unhappy companies and capital leaving our country. To correct a long series of abuses, I'm introducing legislation that removes the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and replaces the role with an executive director that reports to the board where all authority would reside. Former chairs of the SEC will be ineligible under my proposed bill. And this isn't just my take. It resonates across the political spectrum. The American people want democratic access to capital, retail investor participation. You can't just exclude retail investors from markets and claim it's for their own good. Our markets need to function and flourish, and I yield back.
So some good points made there by him, but also some scary points, because in another part of these clips, they speak about the more or less the need for congressional backing or legislation to more or less regulate stablecoins. So maybe getting rid of Gary and replacing them with a more or less someone who's going to toe the line as to what they want to see, which we know could be a problem because, you know, I'm not American. I live in the United Kingdom. I do try and follow a lot of stuff, but I know one of the things that got put in, I think, was the Patriots Act, and there was a lot of stuff snuck in with that. Like I said, I could be wrong, but you know, I'm not an American citizen and I'm not deep into your politics. It's very complex stuff. But what we're seeing here is a very unhappy congressional board that are simply saying, from what he is gauging as sentiment, is that they're actually doing more damage than good, and they're actually driving away investments and possibly driving those investments into the hands of the CCP. This is mentioned in this second clip, which we're going to watch shortly. But the reason why we're paying such good attention to this is because the SEC has done nothing but cause problems with these, like he's saying, these short-handed comments, these very simple statements that people take as legislation, as law, but it's simply just the chairman of the SEC's comments, and they mention about him doing that and this abuse of power. And so it's really interesting to see them mentioning about the CCP and driving that into that market, because listening to this whole thing yesterday, you come to understand there's a big issue with the US dollar pretty much not being the centerpiece of the World Economic Forum, so to speak, and being replaced by the Chinese yuan. So they did speak about this quite a lot. They talk about lifting national debt and debt on other countries to alleviate that and possibly get the dollar back to the position where it's supposed to be. Now, I am supposed to be doing a crypto special and I'm still working on it. There's a lot of editing that goes into those crypto specials, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And it's going to be all about how the American dollar became that centerpiece, that position of the World Economic Forum. It's going to be really nice. We're going to be going back to the FDR days. We're going to be looking at the history, and we're going to look to see how that plays out again in the future, because, you know, things are changing as we move through our journey. The whole world's moving through a journey, and the world's moving through a journey. And just like you're watching a screen inside a screen inside a screen, it's just like that with life sometimes. Now, let's move over to the second guy. This guy is... There needs to be someone who clips some serious memes of this guy.
Does it concern you, by the way, that your approach to the digital asset industry is actually driving this industry out of the United States?
We're trying to drive it to compliance, and if they're not complying with the laws, then they shouldn't be offering their products.
Reclaiming my time. Madam Chair, I would like to enter into the record this Wall Street Journal article from April 14th, 2023, detailing China's ploy to open its banking system to crypto firms in an effort to seize an opportunity created by our hostile regulatory environment, which, Mr. Chair, you're a big part of.
Without objection.
Chair Gensler, FTX was domiciled abroad and so is Binance, yet American consumers still had access to both. You can't really think that pushing this industry abroad is going to protect American consumers when it hasn't several times in the past on your watch. You say the crypto market is rife with non-compliance. However, existing SEC rules make no sense for blockchain-based companies, and following them would actually kill these businesses. Your regulatory style lacks flexibility and nuance, and as a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect everyday Americans and pushing American firms into the hands of the CCP. Your intention to work against SEC mission and put American investors in harm's way has been made very apparent, sir. It's been a year and a half since you've appeared before this committee. You need to answer to Congress about the issues that you've had with the SEC staff union, the work environment you've cultivated at the SEC that's led to hemorrhaging of senior staff, the intellectual inconsistency of your regulatory treatment towards Bitcoin spot ETFs, and your politicization of capital formation opportunities through your treatment of certain SPACs. And that's just to name a few. Thank you.
I would love to do a podcast with this guy, just specifically him, because he seems to actually understand, you know, unlike this other guy that was speaking, he is speaking from what I believe is kind of like I don't know, what's a good way to say it? Like a Judas goat. I don't know if you know about, there's a guy called Forrest Galante, and he speaks about they're having to eradicate some goat species and the Judas goat. Anyway, I think everybody gets the point with the whole Judas thing. Now, I think this guy actually understands how detrimental everything the SEC are doing, because America, you know, if you're American, you're sat here listening, you're a huge part of the crypto community and you're more or less untapped. LUNC cannot be bought in America. If, for whatever reason, and this is a long shot, that LUNC isn't pulled into that same bracket as Terra Luna, that we could possibly be one of these first coins, Squeacher, to be brought into the American sector. Because the way he's speaking, there needs to be change, and there needs to be change fast, because the world is adapting very, very quickly. And blockchain technology is different. I've said this many of times that no one can claim to be an expert in blockchain technology unless your name's Gary Gensler. And the reason why I say that is because he actually taught lessons at MIT on blockchain technology and a few other things, which is quite interesting to see that. So, is Gary a bad person? Yeah, probably. Has he caused a lot of damage? Yes. Is replacing him going to be better or worse? I don't know. But what I do know is this guy here seems to know his cakes from his biscuits, or his scones from his scones, so to speak. I would like to hear more on what this guy has to say, you know, what he wants to push forward and what he wants to see change, because getting the actual laws in place to regulate things, and I've said this a lot, is regulation's coming whether we like it or not. It's going to arrive all the same, and the best thing we can do is embrace it and try to ensure that it's not going to squash small businesses. It's not going to drive, crypto out of the country that you live in, because if it does, you're just going to end up moving to another country, right? If crypto becomes your main source of income, then the likelihood is you're going to move to a country that actually embraces crypto. Japan is making that move currently. A lot of other countries are making that move. So there's a lot of options out there. And the way this guy speaks is he understands that this is not something that you can stop. It's not something that you can control. And doing this choke point whole situation, they speak about this. I don't know what a good word is for this. They insinuate about this choke point that's being created and a similar thing happening back in 2014 to 2016. They mention it and it's simply just not working. And I don't think America, especially after, Gary's been tied up, or the SEC have been tied up in this XRP case, the way he speaks about that when asked about it, he doesn't look too positive. So the other thing to note as well in this is that they actually need congressional, power to more or less, I think, get them bang to rights. But it seems now, for probably like a year or whatever, you've been hearing from this Gary guy, and now all of a sudden you're hearing from people like this that are telling him and simply roasting him and going through all of the details and bringing up his comments and stuff like that, and seeing Gary on the back foot in these parts when he is being questioned about this is a sure sign that something is changing. Things could be changing, and America may do a huge U-turn. They might just go full circle and completely reverse on everything. You may see XRP come out of that case in a positive light and then simply just drop it, because from what we're seeing here right now, and these are some of the key points I'm taking from this. If you're involved in the XRP situation you've been holding for a long time, they've just admitted that they're short-staffed. They lack funding. So it just goes to show that this case must be having a toll if they're laying off staff and things like that. I think there's going to be a big change that's coming, especially with all of this now happening, the mainstream media getting hold of it, and Gary simply being trialed by media, kind of like what we're doing now. I think this is very, very important to us, because anything's going to spark that bull run, and the better prepared we can be for that, it's going to benefit us in the future, understanding these things. I'm definitely going to continue to follow this on the channel and just try and keep up with it, because this is an external force. And I have been thinking recently, and I've spoken about this previously, is that we need to align ourselves with external forces. So say we've got some sort of really big kind of IBC upgrade. We need to look as to what's going on in the actual market and see if we can't align ourselves with an event that could possibly create this slingshot, right? So when the astronauts went to the moon, they would slingshot by doing an orbit, kind of like that, right? Gaining momentum off of somebody else's momentum, or maybe someone else wants to align with us. And this is going to be the beauty of moving into the IBC sector, opening everything up, opening the doors up. But the one thing that is mentioned by this guy is, the FTX debacle, the Terra Luna debacle. The good thing is LUNC is not mentioned, and I really don't think they could ever brand us in the same category. We're more or less a new coin, new community, regardless of, how things are seen. This is all going to come down to regulating ourselves, spending the time to show them and more or less take the lead in the DeFi sector, because being in DeFi it's a dangerous game, right? They're already trying to say currently, there's loads of different articles floating about all of this, but one of the articles that are floating about is one saying the whole of DeFi is a security, and it's just like, we need to be ready. We need to ensure we can, it's like getting pulled over by the police, isn't it? I guess in anybody's country, you need all the correct documents. You need to ensure you're abiding within the law, and if you are, good job. See ya on your way. Everybody's happier. Folks, have a really nice day. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. We're nearly there. We're nearly not there. I think I'm going to jump in for a live this Friday. So if you folks fancy that, there'll probably be a live around midday to 2 p.m. just like old times. We'll try catch up. We'll try cover all of the different things that are going on. And try get a little bit more life into this channel, folks. Really appreciate you supporting. I know I don't say it too often, but I do really appreciate all the support here. We are past 1 year. I wanted to do one of those videos, but it seemed hugely cynical to put one video up simply talking about how it's been a year. I thought I'd cram it in the end of one of these videos and just sort of reflect on it a little bit. It's time to get going. It's time to do stuff. It's time to be responsible, and it's time to take this seriously. We've revived a blockchain. There's a huge community, and if we ensure everybody's a little bit happier, everybody understands the things that are going on, we can all move forward in a more polite, professional, and productive manner. That's what we want to see. That's what everybody wants to see. Folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, beware of scammers, beware of doppelgangers, beware of anybody pretending to be me. None of this is financial advice. And I'll catch you in the next one.